Still muted. There we go. Welcome to Friday night. I'm your Captain James True. Learning to drive a new ship. There's all kinds of knobs everywhere. But I trust that you hear me, and more importantly, I thank you for joining us tonight. Welcome to JoJo Earth. This is a revival of an old classic. And yeah, I've been working all day on getting the knobs turned right, and it turns out it still isn't working. I had to mute the green room. Love you guys in there. But I had to mute you because I can't listen to, although I can turn you down, it also turns down the music. And so I don't know when the music is over, which is why it was late starting the show. Welcome to the show. We are still playing with the format here. We're still playing with exactly how we should be doing this. So your suggestions are always welcome. And I appreciate you being here. We've got talk. We got some listening. We got some conversations. We got some music, as you know. You just heard a lovely tune by the Liquid State by Robert Ruth. Thank you, Robert, for that wonderful rendition. And yeah, it's desert time. There are airships in the clouds we don't see. We don't see them because why? Why would we need to? What's the point of seeing these things? Do they affect us, or are they so big, or are they so much beyond our dimension that they cease to even really matter so much? There's something about blindness that happens when you zoom out too far. Something so large becomes invisible. Becomes invisible because the time it takes to move would be longer than your lifetime would ever be. We never see these things. They're never in our field. We're so convinced our hallucination is real that we keep forgetting that it's not real. It's simply necessary. It's utilitarian. It's safe and effective. We administer hallucination like a medicine, and this medicine comes in all different shapes and sizes. Medicine is terrifying. It scares us. It scares us so much that we look to each other to tell us what's safe. Eye of nude is only so safe, but then sometimes it's too dangerous. Poultices are almost always safe, but sometimes there's weird stuff in them. Bee stings, biting ants, the venom from a poisonous snake. All these things are here to elicit a fear and a terror inside you. And this terror and fear can be controlled like a plasma bubble. You can weld with it. You can create an argon laser with the terror that you have if you learn how to point it just right. This whole world is full of costumes, and you, my friend, are in one of those. It's a suit that you wear to conform to the world. Underneath all this skin, you are vibration. Little quantums vibrating in tendencies that you call yourself. There's a tendency to say your name over and over, and that's what we call you. There's the tendency to always talk about yourself. Do you understand how important it is for you to discuss yourself every moment? Do you understand that I'm pushing against the very fabric of what society deems that you dismiss, and I'm telling you that the only way you were able to stay alive is to be running with a hot potato that you cannot put down, and that hot potato is the spelling of your name, because it's made out of so many letters that, quite frankly, you don't have the equipment to memorize it all. You were stuck in a mantra. And you're repeating your name over and over again, GTAC, GTC, ATTAC, right? Over and over and over. And it's so long, you can't stop. You cannot stop, because if you stop, you will forget. And if you forget, the illusion disappears. And it's not just you. People are going to be mad at you because you broke the illusion. You ruined the game. All of us were doing so well, and you came and you forgot your name, and now you suffer the consequences. We will remove you from this game. You will cease to exist in this world. None of us will acknowledge you anymore, and you will frankly just disappear. Did you know you could disappear? I'm not talking about death, my friends. I'm talking about disappear. That you disappear the moment you stop saying your name. And in order to stop saying your name, you're going to have to convince a lot of cells inside you that they need to stop what they're doing. This is something only a God could do. So you're God. Let's think for this a moment. How would you speak to every single person in the world and ask them to stop saying your name? Your mission would be to convince every single consciousness on the planet that utters the name God, whether it be goddamn or goddamn or goddamn it or goddamn it. All the different ways that we say your name, and how would you, an ineffable creature, convince all of them to stop for a moment? You can't say, well, I can't. You don't get to do that because you're God. You don't get to say that you can't do things. This is a limitation, which is why you're here. You don't want to be limited. Ain't got no time for no limitation. So now you're in a conundrum. What do? You know how to tell everyone to stop saying your name. You know how. It's going to require you to pull a flaming comet, set it on fire, place it inside a bag, put it on the doorstep of every house in America and ring the doorbell and run. And when people come outside, they're going to see a flaming bag and there's a comet inside, and everyone knows what to do when they see a comet on fire in a bag in front of their house, and they're going to stomp on it. They're going to destroy the world. So the idea of hallucinating what happens, the destructive force of this world, is the crying out that we have because we need to cling to the off switch because we're in the room at all times. But the off switch is the light. And if we flip on this switch, this game is over. When I was a child, I would wander in the playroom of my friend Clay. He had a nice big playroom downstairs. There were no windows. It was a basement, carpeted. You could turn out the lights and you could wander around on all fours. And we played sonar. Could we find each other? Could we hide from each other on all fours? And it got so exciting that I was probably going like Mach 2, you know. I was pretty fast. And I nailed a pinball machine with my chin. It was my chin that found it. Somehow my chin had detected in the dark the very flat, hard surface suddenly. I hadn't learned to tap into my echolocation yet. I was tapping into my memory of the space. In other words, when the lights were on, I built a map, and that's faulty because things can move. And it took me bashing my chin up against that thing to step back and go, okay, I need to come up with a better plan. And the throbbing of my chin, I remember how much my chin was throbbing. I remember how much it had swollen. I think I looked like one of those physics twins that they keep doing weird things to their face. And the throbbing of my chin was a sonar signal. It was the first ping I'd had. It's the first time I realized that all I had to do was bash my chin up against this pinball machine, and now the throbbing, my heart was throbbing at the edge of the skin, asking, okay, what idiot is running this body? God is an idiot. He's running into things, and our chin is not made for this, and the blood is rushing, but now the blood is sending a signal of heat. It's pulsing oh fuck that hurt, oh fuck that hurt, oh fuck that hurt, and now that heat is bouncing off of things in the room, and I can feel it. I can see in the dark because I bashed my chin up against a pinball machine. I have no more questions about whether or not I'm a genius, ladies and gentlemen. There is absolutely not a savant in the world that would have come up with this technique to develop sonar quite as effectively as I have. All of us are creating genius using strife in the world because we're God and we're deciding, I want sonar in my chin. I want it in my head, but the closest strike I can make the lightning hit is my chin, so I will do it there. And all the injuries in the world are God smiting the world in a certain place, probably for the purposes of decorating. For the purposes of resetting an attention somewhere. You can't stay on the rock. You can't stay on the Nile because there's too many people there, and you're gonna get killed if you don't worship the ram. And then after that, if you don't disrespect the ram, we'll kill you. If you don't worship the ram, then we'll kill you if you don't shame the ram. So you're like, I gotta go out on the steppe. I gotta find a different place to live. And you go to the land of where everyone cuts their penis off. And now you're in China, and you're just like, oh, I went too far. I don't want this. You start looking around. What is this place? What is this place? And you're not ruined by all the stories you've heard. Laos is a camouflage. The word Laos is a camouflage. The word Thailand is a camouflage. The word Thailand says, we know it's here. It's a place called Thailand. We know it's here. Do you know why we know it's here? Because it's called Thailand. That's why. And so the limit you create an address for something, you eliminate a lot of it. It's weird, right? Like you got to go there and you got to like get to know it all. And then you have a completely different understanding of that namespace as someone else does. You guys don't think the same. You just think that you have the same idea of Thailand. You think you do. The Bogdanov brothers. Yes, that sounds right. I wonder how those guys are doing. That's interesting, those guys. Those guys wrote a physics book. Every major mainstream academic physicist laughed at it, said it was a big joke. Kind of like what happened to Terrence Howard, like before Terrence Howard, was these twins. And they should be commended for how quickly they were able to rise up to, in the vernacular though. There's something there. You know, frankly, Joe Rogan is an example. Like, if you just look at all the icons, you got to put them in your body somewhere. So there's a Joe Rogan, like, you know, little cell somewhere called Joe Rogan, and he puts out this immense amount of codons of content that goes out. Same with these physics dudes. And you're like, so I got two weird physics dudes that do shit to their face? It's like, yeah. Yeah, and then you're like, why do I have that? It's like, why do you not have that? You know, this is the 7th billionth time that the universe has surprised you with a person that's different and unique. At what point are you going to stop being so amazed that people are so weird? Like what? How long is that going to take, you know? Hey, we got a question. This is great. We're going to try this out, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you. I don't know how this is going to work out. We've had some issues with things, but Mark is in chat, and Mark has his hand up, and I think Mark actually is going to be able to unmute himself, and yeah, I think you guys have that ability. So yeah, Mark, whenever you're ready, I'm telling you that that you could do. Oh, I bet I have to do this. I bet this will help. Mark, it looks like you've
There we
got your hand
go.
up, and oh yeah, there's Renee. Hey, Renee.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Wait,
We're
let me
we're
make
we're,
sure
we're
people.
syncing.
Actually, yeah, Renee. Let me make sure people can hear that. I'm just looking over here at the dials, guys. You should be able to hear Renee right now. Hello, Renee.
Can you guys hear me? You guys hear me out there in chat land? Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Yeah, we've been
Hello.
listening. Hello, and here's Mark. Go ahead, Mark.
Go ahead, Mark.
Welcome.
Hello, how's everyone? Hope everyone's good.
Fantastic. Thanks for calling in.
No problem. Just like to tell a little bit of a story. I had a DM interaction with James recently this week, and I sent him a message, and it sort of goes like, so I said, "Hi James, below is where I'm at for now, and I was curious if this reflects your intent regarding ego. So society says to check your ego, you say to embrace your ego. So if I'm standing in a room constructed with two-way mirrors and my ego is observing the one-way side of the mirror, on the other side of the mirror is actually the truth looking into the room, still and silent. My ego is under the impression when it looks for the kingdom within, what it sees back is itself as truth. So if my ego goes within to find its core values, all it will see is a reinforcement of what the ego already believes.
Mm-hmm.
So by suppressing the ego, you'd feel attacked when referencing your internal world for guidance, which makes the one-way mirror more opaque and solidifying the ego's position in the illusion. The belief is that the world is real, becomes set in stone. This sounds like gravity to me, sucking and conglomerating matter into forms and radiating out the formless. Embracing and growing the ego serves the opposite. Rather than attack the ego, you do the opposite of the majoritarian and embrace a third option outside of the dueling pro this and pro that and anti that. This would mean you collapse your own wave independent from the majority. This would create a reflection for the ego that isn't tainted by the group egregore, allowing you to know you're on the right path. Once you inflate your ego, you become less material and rigid because the one-way mirror loses its opacity until it's just glass. Now you'd be back in Eden, waiting for everyone else. When the last straggler wanders in, let there be light. So I said that to James, and about 2 or 3 days went past with no reaction, no response. And that lack of response was a very loud response to me. So I sent him another message saying, "Hi James, I'm sending you a DM, above about the ego makes me think I need to step into my ego and into my own analysis of where I'm at. I think there's a dissonant note attached to what I wrote, and I thought I needed your help. However, I need to find the right shape for the note or the right note for the shape." And what got me there was the idea when I was younger, lost in a shopping centre, lost my parents, calling out for my mum. You've got an option. You can go to all the external sources, all the people. Where's my mummy? Where's my mummy? No one knows your mummy. No one knows to help, or do what I ended up doing. And then subsequently, the spark hit once those thoughts emerged, was subsequently go to the information centre and ask them to broadcast it on the PA. So if I hadn't have stepped into my ego as a young fella, I wouldn't have had that memory to serve me for this time and now. So if I hadn't been able to remember a learned experience, I wouldn't have been able to send that second email, and the words I originally wrote now hold a different meaning to me than the meaning I had when I actually wrote them. So yeah, that's all I've sort of got to say, and I'd love to hear your insight, James.
I feel just so grateful and fortunate that that I get to meet people like you and watch you share stuff like this. More importantly, I find it a privilege that that there's a certain tenor to my silence. I'm aware of it, and I kind of wrote you in reference to that. And if I didn't get this right, forgive me. I'm not trying to paint it differently. I'm just trying to remember how I said it. But if we trust and if we really trust ourselves, if we really trust each other, we're able to give silence, and it's felt. It's so hard to feel witness that we have to say things. I'm not bashing saying things. I dropped some hearts today that I've been very self-centered with my own work lately, and I genuinely follow people that I just want to encourage. And so sometimes I find myself just, hey, I really want to go sow. So it's sort of like putting birdseed in the bird feeder. It's the same kind of thing to me. It's like, yes, it's sort of a task I want to make sure I do, but also it's just like, this is fucking fun as fuck. And I don't always have time. I always want to keep the birdseed there, but I don't always have time. And then of course I feel bad for it, but that's a good bottom. Like I sort of coined the phrase yesterday. That's a good bottom. Like that's a great bottom to have. When we witness each other, truly, when I read your letter, which I think you might have just read it because it sounded exactly like what you said the first time, which is great. Because when I read it, I found it so moving. I didn't have a good response to honor it in words. I was just like really just thinking about it. Because it's not exactly where I'm at, but it puts me closer to where I'm at without kind of knowing it. And I didn't really know how to respond to that. And then when I saw your response, it just made me, it was just more of playing with this idea of the silence, of what the silence brings. It's so easy to be afraid that the silence I give someone is going to be used in a way of derogatorily feeling bad, like I've forsaken someone. But there's also a trust and a faith that I could only exhibit, a kind of prana that I could only exhibit by giving someone that I have a deeper connection with more silence than I do other people. And this is, honestly, I think this is how we build relationships. What if we built relationships on our ability to extend silence to each other through a sort of underground credit? And more importantly,
do you know what
no, go ahead, Mark.
you know that's reminding me of is when you love someone, you can be in their presence without having to say anything. Just being with them is enough. And I think in a way, when you love yourself, not in a narcissistic way, but when you actually separate the body and you, when you love those two things, you can spend time with yourself in silence, free from external interference, and you can actually love yourself and be as content as you are with a loved one. I don't know if that made sense or not.
Oh, it definitely does. And what makes it a little bit harder is if you guys are having trouble hearing Mark, let me know. I'm sorry that I'm having to test audio. I'm really into the conversation, but then I'm seeing things that I have to pay attention to as the audio engineer. So I've heard that you guys are having trouble hearing Mark, and I just thank you for telling me that. I don't know if it's you, Mark. There's not a lot I can do.
That's okay. I'll speak up louder.
Okay, great. When we meet via Zoom, not just necessarily you or me, I have to feel with my chin I imagine that I read what you wrote and I felt as profound as I did, and I don't have the calories to show the words because I have to process those. I have to grind those in the coffee maker, right? And push them through the press. But I have to do it with intent and consciousness because, man, I gotta fucking show how much I dig this. And then also there's all this matrix of things that's happening. And then what comes in is I think about you. I think about your field. And I think about what is the best way to service this customer who's very valued. This is not because you're my patron. I'm telling you this is everyone in your entire life. Your oldest child, you're going to be like, hey, look, I know you ordered a hot dog, but here's a corn dog. You're going to freaking dig it. And you just know this is good. You only know that because there's a complex prawn economy. I just said oldest just as an example. But then when the youngest comes and you order a hot dog and all you have is a corn dog, you're like, oh, this is going to be a little bit different. And you're going to have to either sell it different, present it different, or maybe not even present it. And so I tend to I think all of us tend to give more silence to those peers. And if you are not in a confident state, not you, Mark, but if anyone is not in a confident state, the silence ends up being a disaster. But the disaster is what the dojo is. The disaster is the opportunity that someone who looks up to me, I have let them down through being silent, is a huge thing for me. I'm just like, what do I do? How do I? And then I'm just like, I'm just going to smoke a bowl because I just can't think about this anymore. After a while, I just don't know the right answer. There's just only so much time. That's a cop out, but it's part of it. And so all of us navigate that, though. All of us do that to everybody. And if we had a truly centered ego, I think that we would be understanding how complementary this silence is, if this makes sense. That we would be able to see the tangible love because we're looking at silence properly.
I think extending your ego into 100% lack or 100% opposite, too much ego, are both, I guess, constructs of the world we live in. But as you just said, it feels right to go back to that midpoint, the balance, which means you can't walk the same road as everyone else.
Right. Yeah, and that's going to be a silent footsteps. Every one of those footsteps that defines you is going to be done in silence. And we have the opportunity to... None of us are standing properly, and thank God, because the pressure that one person would give, we'd have to break his legs. We just would. We wouldn't admit it. We'd be like, oh, we Tanya Harding it. It'd be like, no, I'm just, there's a batting cage. There's a new sport. You batting cage with ice skates on. And we would create an idea. We would destroy that person. This happens all the time, though. This just what you do. And the person who
in Australia,
go ahead.
In Australia, that's called tall poppy syndrome. As soon as a poppy grows above the others, they lop it off.
Yeah. This is how the Beyonder has to do that just right. They have to have enough momentum. They have to explode. They have to run faster than the speed of sound. Technically, Musk is sort of like doing that. Maybe this is how you get out. That's if you want to get out. I'm not saying it's a trap. I'm just saying that if ego is something that, the more I think about air supply, the more I just think ego is just such a beautiful, it really is an airship. And you're going to, at different altitudes, you're going to want your ship to do different things, your ego to do different things. Different things are going to become important if you're too close to the ground. Different things are going to become important if you're too high up. And well, there's no end. This is a beautiful, beautiful part of who we are. Hey, Brad, you got something on this?
Hey, yeah. Well, you mentioned Musket. It was funny to me. I have a close friend of mine who apparently his brother works for the IRS and has shared a couple of emails that he got from his supervisor. And the first one was telling him not to respond to the Doge email because it had come to their attention that the reply would be that, thank you for tendering your resignation, which I guess was the same as if you didn't respond to the email.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what y'all thought about that. The second one was telling them that the federal building lease, they were not renewing them, and by June 2025, I think the lease was up. And to me, what's funny is it's just like, I don't know, it just seems like trolling in reality on that level. Does that make sense?
No, tell me more. Trolling reality. Who's trolling?
Well,
reality?
imagine if you work for the federal government, right? And like apparently his brother, he's just working his job, and you're told by your boss, which the executive branch of the government, right, would be sending you an email because from what I heard, right, the Doge email was justify your job or whatever.
Right,
and if you don't respond to that, that would be treated as your resignation. But just that they send an email to their staff saying that they had come to their attention that if you did respond to the email, that you would get an automatic reply that thank you for your resignation. The same thing. You see what I'm saying? So it's like putting those people working those jobs in the federal government, right? If you receive that, if you're in that position, you're receiving that email, you're being told on one hand, if you don't reply, this is your resignation. And then your boss is emailing you, telling you if you do reply, they've gotten word that that's also treated as your resignation.
Yeah.
And then also that you won't have a building to work from come June 2025.
Everyone's being digitized. And
right.
Musk wants to be able to say, here's the metric, go. And so really all he's doing is breeding who has obedience, right? Who has just straight,
I mean, that's
not who has a spine, not who has sanctity, right? Who has survival obedience. That's what the Doge trust is, isn't it? And it's being run by children, like it's been being run by younglings who do not have the ego, honestly, the sharp enough ego to stand on their own. So they're going to regurgitate directions. No offense, young kids, but this is how it happens. You learn to follow orders before you learn how to break them. So everyone in part of this machinery is a very specific person that's being placed in a very specific situation, and the ones who are going to make it will only be the ones that have said how high, right? Because the question secretly is jump, and all he wants to know is who's gonna who's ready, who does that, and that's who you keep. That's kind of what it's funny to me. I'm sorry, Joe. No, go ahead.
But just the idea that putting them in a position where, whether you jump or you don't, you're fucked. If that makes sense. Sorry, but that not that who knows what's going to happen.
Well,
as far as their jobs in this, but go ahead.
I think that you hit the nail on the head when you said you're fucked either way, and I think this is good news. And I think that the people that are going to suffer are the ones that don't know that yet.
Right. Yeah,
and this is across the board. This is how nature has to teach us, because quite frankly, the only way that we are going to stop sucking on any teat that we find, any teat, is that milk has to turn so sour, so disgusting, so poisonous that we can't handle it anymore. This is the only way. You do not grow enough ego to stop doing that yourself. You really don't. There's something more involved when you stop doing that. There are stories of children. There's some funny sketches, honestly, of some children where the idea of the sketch is that the baby is now 17 and he's still breastfeeding, and it's really funny because when you start to compassionate what that's like, you realize that even if the mother doesn't wean the child off, even if the physical mammary glands do not do their job to change the flavors crystals, yes, I'm calling them flavor crystals, and that the flavor crystals, because I understand anatomy more than anyone, ladies, this is flavor crystals. That's right, you heard it here. But that these things would change, and then even if those things don't work, you still have society that's like they're gonna beat the shit out of you if you're 17 and you're still breastfeeding. I mean, someone's gonna fucking hit you, and so the nature is always, it's built into the fractal of nature that you can't just keep doing the same thing. You can't just find that same substance. It doesn't work anymore. Which means all this to say, sorry, I got lost on the flavor crystal thing, but there's something to that. But Musk is actually making people grow through the vitriolic sword of Damocles. Don't worry, Musk doesn't get credit for it, but I'm saying that Musk being here is exactly what needs to happen. It's exactly what happened to me when I was in the military. I'm not saying that they need to do it because I suffered too, but it's like you're looking at an obnoxious bureaucracy that is just so stupid that it doesn't even know itself. Like it just doesn't even recognize itself. And I used to think, oh, it's just the military. And then I entered into other industries and I started to notice that, hey, there's a lot of this. Anything that was unionized. When I worked at CARTA, it was a large city bus place. And just noticing that when you have such a large conglomerate like that, and it's unionized, you see a lot of what we might call communism, but what I just call just this garden that's there breeding that you are not going to be fed as a person here, and it's important that the garden never give you that you're always having to find another way to survive is the only proof that you're growing. So as scary as it might look to think, I'm not saying that you're scared, Brad. I'm just saying that as unsettling it is.
To me, it's funny, and because I'm compassionating for my friend because I know, and to be fair, because he knows me and like we're really close and talked for known him for years. Anyway, I'm saying I feel like over time I've seen him take this all a little more lightly in that sense of understanding. It's like that. As you said, I don't think that, I don't think anything is, nothing is in our personal control, right? So how you feel about it is more about you in this kind of state and like what's going on in the world is just what's going on. So for me personally, no, I don't, it's kind of funny. And that's what I'm saying is like, I already kind of assume these things, but when he shows it to me, right? And this is just my buddy who not in the same headspace as me at all in this kind of way. But it's funny in that sense to kind of see it playing out in the real world. Just everything you're talking about. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess to see the normies, not to call them norm, but you get what I'm saying. It's infiltrating. It's moving through. Like I was talking, I think before about the fact that conspiracy theories used to be a niche thing, and it's become mainstream. And and that's what I'm saying. It doesn't even matter what anybody believes anymore. But we're just watching the world it's something.
yeah, and it really should. This really should be all it takes, and that's why I was kind of saying that if anyone out there is watching Musk and you're just like, how do I get rid of this? The answer is you're not, but
right.
But you will not look at it as I have to get rid of this if you can get to this other posture about look at how productive this garden is. If you believe me that the DPA was used to close down the country anyway, then what you're looking at is just simply this is how buildings are brought down in a clean demolition, right? Instead of it being a building, you're just demolishing jobs. And you're pretending that you're doing it under the auspice of efficiency. right? So as the building's being torn down, all you got to do is say that building 7 was, no, we were just making it more efficient. We wanted to make it more aerodynamic, and we wanted to have a more open architecture because people really, really like high ceilings. I just described building 7 as a positive, constructive remodel, right? And so Doge is the same thing. It's a positive commission. We like our government to make commissions for us, i.e. stories, paintings, right? And the painting tells us that this is what happened. We're just making things more efficient. And yeah, that's one way of this is one way of putting lipstick on a pig. And I don't even like that expression because pigs are so much more beautiful than what we have here, you know. So I'm going to mute you guys for a sec. We're going to take thank you so much, Brad. Please stick around, all you guys. But it's an opportunity to play ourselves another little song here. You guys are listening to Friday Night Ride here on the Airship, Doja Worth. That is Superintendent McCupcakes. If Baby Wanna Sit is the name of that song. Hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for riding with me this Friday night as we're learning to pilot this new ship and do things and whatnot. And yeah, great to be here. When James talks about connection with DNA, I can only speculate. I'm curious what you mean by that, Lucky, but I can only speculate too. And yeah, Lucky's missing some breast milk. I get it. It's okay. You'll find more. The land of milk and honey is waiting for all of you, my friends. I assume that you can hear me which is great to know. And it looks like Renee is actually unmuted, but she would.
There we go. There we
Yeah.
go.
Hey.
It gets hi. There's kind of a lag. So yeah, I've got a couple devices going right now. It's pretty
Yeah,
funny. I'm
yeah,
having two phones right now. But it's hey, this is fun. I'm holding some joysticks going on. How's everybody doing out there? That was a pretty cool song, James.
Thank you. Yeah, I enjoyed finding that. Superintendent McCupcakes for the win. So, yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, that is a great title for a song. Hey, yeah, it's Friday night. We have a new moon tonight, and apparently there was a planetary alignment from Horus to from rise to set on the horizon. You could see, I believe it was 7 planets that were visible from the horizon tonight. And I did go out and kind of try to touch both horizons just to hold it a bit in my hands. That's always fun, everybody, just to kind of go own the sky if you ever want to.
Yeah, I was actually just looking now as you said that. Jupiter is also like right in the stomach of Taurus, and Mars is directly between the twins of Gemini.
Castor and Pollux.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. In fact, it's interesting you bring that up. I was actually going to tell you guys this Cherokee legend. Thank you, Renee. I'm gonna mute this.
Oh, fantastic.
But
okay.
raise your hand though if anything comes up for sure.
Right.
This is such good practice. I'm really appreciate you guys. The Pleiades, how do you say it, right? Pleiades, the Pleiades is one of the oldest recognized constellations. The Seven Sisters is one of its names. The Cherokee called it the Six Brothers. And then it became the Seven Brothers. And more importantly, a lot of historical astrology not only has the Pleiades, but they have the Pleiades as being 6 and then 7. And we could have a wonderful time speculating why that happened. What was it that has made it go from 6 stars into 7? And baby being 6 and then 7. And we could hang on, we got some bleed through here. I'm sorry guys, we need to do a little technical thing. Renee, I know I keep telling you that like you can talk in the Zoom, but like I'm still retarded on this thing, and so that's why I'm basically the only way you're gonna be able to talk to me is with your hand up, and then I can like do that. I'm sure you're cool. I'm just letting you know. Plus, if anyone else is in the green room, know that's the way to do it. And thank you for allowing me to take this little technical stuff going on. So why 6 and then 7? Why did that happen? It could be that a new star was formed. I'm not against that idea. I think that's a very, very likely thing. It could be that consciousness actually grew. That our resolution grew. And as our resolution grew, we were able to discern more stars. If you buy the color signature of stars itself, I just love talking off camera. I'm gonna do that. But sometimes I'll put myself on camera because I want you guys to enjoy the show. And let's face it, I'm eye candy, right? But this is, anyway, let's just get on with it. Would love your feedback on how you think this should go. Anyway, let me just say this. It could be that consciously we just simply grew resolution. And through growing resolution, what used to be 6 stars became 7. And this legend of these 6, they're usually sisters, but they used to be brothers. And I'm wondering if they used to be brothers because they used to be red. And I'm saying that they used to be red, not because the actual gas giant thing that we call a star, whatever you want to think that is, it was itself red, but because we saw it as red. We've discussed on James True Live many times the work of Gladstone, Magnus, and another, and how colors came to be historically in the language, and how there was a certain order to these things. In understanding that, it's possible that the Red Sea was literally the first body of water that we were able to perceive, which is why we called it red. It's actually a clue. It's telling us that water taught us to see colors. Water gave us the ability to discern there's something different, that this is red, not black. The Nile was black. The word Nile means black. The word Nile means black. So the first river we saw before the Red Sea was the Black Nile, which means that the ground wasn't black, it was gray, it was dark. And then we saw the moving water as something black. You could not see through it. You could not see through water. And when you looked up at the sky, you didn't see a blue Milky Way, you saw a red Milky Way. You saw the red and white rust belt of heaven. You saw the body itself of Mixcoatl. The American spirit of Uncle Sam was viewable in the skies of Amuraka all the way to Africa. And Africa called this rust belt the yam. They didn't use the word yam, but the sweet potato in the sky. There's a sweet potato in the sky, and it is the mother of all heaven, and the sweet potato got too hot, and when the mother handed the sweet potato to her daughter, it burned her fingers, and her fingers released the potato, and it spewed out, and it spilled all over the place. And those fingers are the Pleiades. There's 6 that became 7, or 7 that became 6. The stars are difficult to understand what they truly are. And the reason why is because you inherit what they mean before you get to look at them. When you are inside the womb, you can smell stars. You smell them more than you can smell now. And before your eyes are even growing, you are smelling the stars all around you. And you can smell your mom, but you notice that as your mom moves her coordinate, there is some sort of outer realm called stars that doesn't move. Or it moves differently than your mom. You learn about the stars in the womb because the smells are moving at different rates than your mother spins. And when she sleeps, you're able to silently smell the stars moving, and you already have an idea of what they are. Not only do you have an idea, you remember what they smelled like the last time you were born. And you remember what they smelled like the last time you were born. And you remember so far that you remember that there were 7 and then there's 6. And the things reduce themselves from 12 notes on a chromatic scale to 8 notes on a major chord. And it just kept being simplified because you were returning to this base rate, to this simpler place. And it would all be smell. Can you go there? It's easy to close your eyes. It's harder to close your ears. It's impossible to turn off the skin. But you can try. You have to develop noise-canceling somatic technology. You have to be so in touch with your pulse and so in touch with the tide that occurs from the cranial spinal fluid that gets squirted as a result of the pulse itself. It comes later. And when you memorize the Schumann resonance of your tides, of your breathing, of your heart rate, of these 3 different giant balls thundering in the sky, you can subtract those things the same way you subtracted the rotational smell of your mother to discover there were stars. You smell your way home. This would be the closest thing that you could get to understanding God. That God smells all. The beholding of witness is probably the listening of the nose. The listening of the nose is so secret that there's even a cosmic joke that was left by the monk who scribed the algorithm that built this place. And that joke is that the nose knows, and that is Gnosticism. It's nostrilcism. And Nostradamus was smelling the future when he predicted it. And horses and dogs and anything under the water really has a closer understanding of what reality is. We're not blind so much as we are gifted with the ability to paint. We paint with ink, we decorate our HUD, we decorate our dashboard, and we end up with this airship that's around us. It's great. The costume that we've made. It's important. But if you want to know what stars are, you have a problem. And I'm sorry to be dropping problems on you, but I've been thinking about this, y'all, and I'm just sorry. It's just, look, I'm here to tell it like it is. I'm H&R Block over here, and I'm telling you, your W-2 is gonna be some woo-woo, because you've been drinking the mythology of your mom. And she's been drinking the mythology of her mom. And she's been drinking the mythology of her mom. Which means that you've never been able to smell the sky cleanly. And I'll just be straight with you. I don't know if you're going to be able to render all those moms together to do the subtraction. If you were able to, I think you're going to need a really powerful supercomputer that can help you do this. And I'm all for you finding this. But I think you'll find that other people are looking for that too. And that you're going to find that you need to conglomerate with them. Because all of you, I don't think that consciously people know that they're building the Nimrod equation. They don't understand it's happening. But deep down, they want to know what the stars smell like. This would be the most direct way of looking through the glass. Seeing through the veil, but also understanding exactly where every hole is. It's so much closer than you think. And it's weird because what's stopping you from seeing it is not distance, it's not technology, it's not supercomputer, it's fear. It's angst. You're nervous about seeing it. And I think that you're nervous about seeing it because it's so much fun not knowing yet. You are cranking the metal handle on the side of the Jack-in-the-Box. Do you remember that? And it, your chest is buzzing. Every time you crank, even before it clicks, you're realizing, wait, it could even go before it clicks. I don't know when this is going to happen. All I know is it's going to happen. What is that? I don't know when this is going to happen, but I know this is going to happen. I know it. And just like music gives you confidence so that your ego, if we want to call it that, can burn and sear a really thick reality in the world. You can really set that bubble just right. So too does this knowing that this is going to happen create a really solid state reality that's going to happen the moment that it breaks and that box bursts open. And the potlatch of not seeing the clown, not seeing the Jack inside, that's the potlatch, isn't it? Imagine if the box was always open. You got to shut that box. You got to shut that box and leave it a box for at least 3 days. You got to get it charged. This is how you charge a Jack-in-the-Box. You charge it with potlatch. Guys, there is no electricity in a Jack-in-the-Box. There's not a single light bulb. There's not a plug. There's not a battery. There's not a motor. There is a hand crank spring. A spring is a coil. A coil is a piece of metal that remembers who it used to be. It's like, I remember I was a loosey-goose spring, and now I'm all tight and wound, and I just want to express that I remember something different. And this is consciousness. This is consciousness. The smart metal is just conscious metal. And all metals are smart, aren't they? You can't do that with rocks. You can kind of do it with vegetation, right? If you use the lignins right, if you align with the grain of whatever, you can make some trebuchets. You can do some interesting things like a rubber band. That's a tree, right? So you can take the rubber of a tree and turn it into a string and wrap that into a coil and spin a propeller. But how do you attach? How do you get that magic of the Jack-in-the-Box? Do you know why the Jack-in-the-Box is so powerful? It's because it has a random algorithm in it. Random is hard. Random is hard to predictably make sure that it happens randomly. I'll put it that way. Random is easy. You yourself are a beautiful random engine. Don't let anyone tell you different. There are people out there that want you to know that determinism is just empirically unavoidable. And those people don't know how much you lie in your smell. They don't know that yet. They're smart. They're smarter than I am. But they don't know what stars smell like. And more importantly, they're not able to separate what their mother thought stars smelled like. Because if we could reverse engineer and we would know exactly what this place looked like, smelled like when it was new. I'll give you a hint. It's new car smell. Tire universe smelled like new car smell. What do you think about that? It's a great time to hit thumbs up. Really appreciate you guys being here. And we're going to do a little song. I don't think you've heard this one. I'm gonna need a stamp. I'm gonna need a stamp. Why do I need a stamp, you might ask? Because I need to mail the fuck to the yeah on that song. That's right. I need to mail some fuck all the way across the country to my friend Yeah about that song. That was Bruiser by Bonkers Beat Club. Assuming you guys are can hear me. Appreciate that. Help me do the little mic check. And Mike's not here. I looked around. I checked. Get it? Of course you do. Long ago, when the world was new, there were 7 boys who used to spend all their time down by the town council house playing the Gata U City, throwing a stone wheel along the ground and sliding a curved stick after it to strike it. Their mothers scolded, but it did no good. So one day they collected some Gata Ya City stones and boiled them in a pot with the corn for dinner. When the boys came home hungry, their mothers dipped out the stones and said, "Since you like the Gata Yasata better than the cornfield, take the stones now for your dinner." The boys were very angry and went down to the town council house saying, "As our mother..." Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm not muted. Thank you. Sorry, we're getting better at this. The boys were very angry and went down to the town council house saying, "As our mother treats us this way, let us go where we shall never trouble them any more." The boys began to dance with these stones. Some say it was the feather dance. And they went round and round the council house, praying to the spirits to help them. At last their mothers were afraid something was wrong and went out to look for them. They saw the boys still dancing around the townhouse, and as they watched they noticed that their feet were off the earth, and that with every round they rose higher and higher in the air. They ran to get their children, but it was too late, for they were already above the roof of the townhouse, all but one, whose mother managed to pull him down, with the Gadayasita pole, but he struck the ground with such force that he sank into it, and the earth closed over him. The other 6 circled higher and higher until they went up to the sky, where we see them now as the Pleiades. The Cherokees still call Anitsuta, or the boys. The people grieved long after them, but the mother whose boy had gone into the ground came every morning and every evening to cry over the spot until the earth was damp with her tears. A little at last green shoots sprouted up and grew day by day until it became the tall tree that we now call the pine. And the pine is of the same nature as the stars and holds itself in the same bright light. The pine has a very distinct smell, does it not? What if I was to tell you that the smell of the forest is the smell of the galaxy? And this includes you. You're a tree. You're in the forest. You got some smells. I smelled you. I've smelled you before. Pine, it's a very magical smell. You may remember that pine sol is just one of many, 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 many cleaners. Historically, pine has always been seen as a baptismal syrup, right? And why is it baptized? It's the same technology. The olfactories are taken to the halls of Mentoliptus. This is a crystal palace that the nose goes to pray. And the certain smells allow the cathedral to cleanse itself. The exact same way that you would need to cover the jack, to place the jack back in the box and close the box, so too would you want the smell. You would want a palate cleanser. If I was to play music in between breaks, right? It's an opportunity to think on what was just said, or to stop thinking on what was just said. It's up to you. You get to do that. I don't want to assume. You just heard a Cherokee legend that there were 7 stars and 1 was lost. And you could say that, well, how does this work, James? Did they see 7 stars or did they see 6? And I need you to know that the losing of that star is probably more due to the fact that it was cresting the horizon at certain points in the year. And that by memorizing which points in the year one of those brothers was to go into the earth, was to fall into the earth, is a very important time. It's a very magical understanding. You're tapping into a root that's giving you a clock before you have a watch. The expression o'clock, right, comes from a time when we all had to walk around telling people, hey man, we're going to meet at 4 by the clock, right? We're not going to meet at 4. We're going to meet at 4 by the clock, right? And now the people that are on island time are kind of like, dude, I do not want to drag a grandfather clock around everywhere I go. It's not going to happen. And then the other guy's like, well, we invented wristwatch. And he's like, I don't want to wear a wristwatch. And then you find out, dude, you just don't want to go by the clock. Just say it. And the guy's like, no, I don't mind the clock. I just think that it's going to lead to cell phones. And the other guy's like, what's a cell phone? He's like, you wouldn't believe me. You wouldn't believe me. It wouldn't matter. So 6 and 7, it's not always that it depends on where you are. I've looked into this before. It depends on where you are. The Pleiades isn't always like dipping below the horizon. It actually seems like there's both. Some people saw it as 6, some people saw it as 7, and some people had the word blue. Some people didn't. Some people didn't. It's just like that's GRU. That's convenient, right? You're saving a lot of time. And, we could easily return to that. We could return to that day. This is how you know that the ripple's expanding. I almost said that we're growing. But you know that there's an expansionary direction in civilization. So it's hard to imagine the Luciferian, the evil overlord Luciferian guy is harder to imagine if you see that the circle's always expanding, is what I'm trying to say. You could say, well, it's expanding and they're fooling us. So, you still got that out. Don't worry. You can still listen to me and still think that. But there is just so much positivity around everything. All the employees that worked at Musk are thinking, my God, I've put my entire future on the line and employment on the line to this guy that just sets this arbitrary jump stick. And the only way I could maintain my position is to lose my dignity. Now I'm being forced to wonder, which do I want more? Do I want the comma or do I want my dignity? The comma helps me have dignity, so do I reject that? Because there are people all around you that are saying that they're alchemists and saying how spiritual they are, and then they're shit-talking money out of the same mouth. They're telling you how bad money is and how anyone who thinks money's important is not on the correct journey. But you've listened to me, that if you can digest more of the world from a comfortable state, that you will be able to see more. So calories are the only way to do that. And one of the ways you can save calories is having some commas lying around. It's the Kama Sutra, right? COMMA Sutra. It's the Kama Sutra. And we're here. Someone should write that down. We are here in America. Western world is studying the Kama Sutra. And it's the Sutra of Money. Hathor is among all of us. We still worship Hathor by eating hamburgers. It's all still around. It's all still happening. I think the abundance is clear when you just look at the intricacies. Everything's intricate. There's just a lot of intricate things around. Even right now. There's I'm pretty sure there's a mouse and a raccoon. And I can see both of them. And it's just this is, I don't live in a zoo. I mean, this is, I didn't rent a coon, I didn't do that. It just naturally happens, right? So the world is happy. Gaia is really happy with you. And she's going to keep throwing animals at you because she's like, hey, I need you to take care of these guys. And you're like, well, how do I take care of raccoons? You just look at it. It's well, what if I don't want to look at it? It's well, then you shake a broom at it. It's well, wait, I can shake a broom at it? It's yeah, you can do whatever you want. Yeah. These things are here to make you go, oh my God, there's a raccoon. That's the only job. That's guys this is the only job. It's the only job. It's got cute fingers, but you don't have to pay attention to that. Literally, the raccoon is responsible for placing the suggestion in the Red Bull guys to invent the flying squirrel suit. That came from raccoons. They were like, dude, you could have a mask like us. You could have a wingsuit. You can go flying from garbage can to garbage can, never having to touch the ground. Here we are, doing it. This is an algorithm if you think about it. The code is constantly writing itself and creating the algorithm to make you open up more. So first it's like we need to build a civilization. And then it's like, okay, then we need to rebuild the civilization. Then we need to remodel it. Then we need to make it more complex. Why do we need to make it more complex? Because the old tricks don't work anymore. These guys have gotten used to all this stuff. We can't just wander around the streets with a 14-foot long dildo. I'm literally not kidding. This is all it took in Rome. This is all it took. There's a lot of fanfare in that. There was probably a giant economy built around every month. Someone's going to need a giant phallus and, 3 guys in a phallus, right? I mean, the business plan writes itself. They rent a small shop. Actually, they rent a long shop, You want length over girth on this one. You don't want a lot of girth running through the streets of Rome. You're going to want a nice long corn dog, That's what you're going to want. So you're going to want to, you're going to save some money if you rent in the shipbuilding district. Because those guys, they're storing a lot of nice long things. And you're going to kick your business off. You're going to wait till Valentine's Day around that season. You're going to kick it off, right? Are you guys enjoying this? Okay, good. We got Renee laughing over there. Yeah, it writes itself. It really does. I don't know if I need to tell you. I don't know if it's necessary that I tell you, but yeah, it really does. It really does write itself. If you think of this place as a chalkboard, I think that just like in any game engine, before the player character is created, the terrain is created. And when the terrain is created, typically when I start a new scene in Unity, I create a scene. The defaults are already there, and you need a camera, which is awareness, consciousness. But it's better to call it awareness. Conscious is typically going to be, I am conscious of something. Aware is, I have the skill to be conscious of something. Aware is the 0. Consciousness is the 1, if that makes sense. So on the main stage, you have a stage. You have a camera on that stage. So the stage, maybe you could even call awareness. But then you have the camera itself. Maybe that's the consciousness part. But then you're going to have a light. You just have to have a light in the scene. You don't have to have it. You could just have a dark scene. But these things are ubiquitous across every country. Everyone that would ever develop a computer program in this time and space would want to mimic this time and space, which means that they would use the 3D vector algorithms that we use right now to render triangles. There's really no other way to do it efficiently. It's not that we're not creative, it's that we're efficient. We have no choice to find the least caloric way of doing something. And it's quite easy to see that that's not random, that in the exact same world, on the exact same reset, we would rebuild the same triangle making machine. And maybe you could argue we wouldn't call it a computer. And this, I'm fine with this, although it gets complex, but this is why Adam names everything. So I still kind of get to trump you on that, because there's a ceremony where Adam actually has to name everything. So it's kind of moot. The memology of the word is a lot like getting lost on 432. I think 432 is beautiful. As I told you, it resonates with 108. But I also want you to know that the power of music is in the relationship to each other. And this exact same relationship is here. It's what we're talking about here. Before characters are added to the stage, there is awareness. You have light. You might even have terrain. You still have an added consciousness to the player itself. Still isn't there. You have a blank chalkboard. In order for you to reverse engineer what this world is, we're going to need the power of compassion that is so complex. It has the ability to tensor array the entire cosmos with enough space to render time itself. Also, we can subtract all those things we could subtract all of those things and we could look at what the game had to look like before there were players here. This is the smell. This is the smell of the black chalkboard. It's not a chalkboard that's been cleaned with an eraser. That's not black. That's a really, really dark gray. It's not black. I'm talking about when that chalkboard was put up, right? Or even better, what's behind the chalkboard. This analogy's got a lot of footholds. It's a parade float. You know? It's a parade float. Let's play another song. Let's play Nosebleed by Zorro. This might be a weird song. Who knows? Thanks for listening.
Can I ask you something? Are you wasting my time? You're 20-something and I'm out of my mind. I'm feeling seasick every time that you leave. I hope you noticed that these drugs ain't for free. Still I run hills for you. You feel me? Nothing means something with you. Really? Just like we're addicts, I kinda like it like that. You never ask me if I'm happy or sad. Ain't that the magic to keep it like that? I'm feeling proud of all the things I left unsaid. Still I run hills for you. You feel me? Nothing means something with you. Really? Just like 11 and my nose bleeds. If you ask me something, then what would it be?
Welcome back. That was Nosebleed by Zorro. Yeah, I like that one. It's Orion was a hand. I've told you guys that before, but the constellation Orion in Amaraka, when they saw Orion, they saw it as a hand. And the center of that hand was the Orion Nebula, the red spot. But it wasn't red then, was it? It wasn't red. If blue was red, then red was something else. I think red was white. I think what happened is that when they were looking at the constellation of Orion, they were looking at a hand, and that hand had a white spot. And that white spot was in the center of the hand because that's where the nebula is. And they built their entire cosmology around that hand. I'm just telling you that it probably looked white. Probably, it's very, very tricky to imagine just how intense the moon must have seemed. Because I think that the only thing at that point you'd be seeing is smell. We don't know when we decided to turn off our olfactory gland. It had to be recently because you still have one. That you have a bulb inside the top of your mouth, and that it just simply begins to it atrophies the moment you're born. It stops working. So it's easy to speculate that maybe there was a time when we were born and we didn't atrophy it. Maybe there was a time when it became necessary for us to either begin to atrophy it or bring it forth onto the stage because it's never ever been on. So it's always been an appendix. It's always been this thing that is added to a book that may or may not help, is not necessarily necessary, but if you really wanted to understand the book, you're going to really appreciate that it's there. This could be the olfactory. The appendix could be an atrophied processing room, a LAN, and network room, a computer room that is utilized, that could be utilized for the processing of olfactory input. This is a slot that you could plug a card into. And that card is just not on. The factory sends it, but you don't need it. Look at you. You took a hot poker when you were born, you shoved it into your mouth, and you just burned the top of your mouth off. You're just like... And then you're like, yeah, this is better. This is better. I want you to imagine what taste must be like if you still had the roof of your mouth open. A horse is a large creature. Let's be honest. That's a big thing. It's got 20 times the olfactory as you do. It's got 20 times the resolutional receptors that you do. This is just its nose. In addition to that, inside the top of its mouth, it did not shut off the olfactory that you did. It did not do that. I don't think that the horse can see air. I don't think a dog can see air. I don't think these guys need air. I don't think they want air. I think they think air is stupid. I think they're like, air is for stupid people. I think they are living in an ocean of smell. And it is colorful as fuck. It is a plasma. It is a chemical pool that you walk through, that you do not need a towel, but you still feel the moisture of it. It's 1 degree less than moisture. If you take the square root of moisture, we've captured what we're speaking about here. And when you study the eyeballs, the Pavlovian drool balls of the dog and the horse, you notice that both of them are missing receptors in the green range. They purposely do not want to render in those shades. It's not the same. I'm being very vague right now. I believe maybe the horse is more on this greenish side, where the dog is closer on the bluish side. It's something you can look up. The point is that both of them are purposely blunting their RGB triangle, the color triangle that you use to mix paint, that they are purposely never, ever, ever, ever buying red paint. They're insisting that we will never use red paint. And I believe that the reason why they would never use red paint is the same reason why I was telling you that if we were to recreate the world and then we were to try and simulate it, we would invent the same things as a camera and a terrain and triangles, because your mind would do the same thing. Your mind would have a spectrum of colors that it can use to inform the hallucination in order to give you better data. So why would a creature that has so many more factorials, right? The Oreos in the factory, the factorials, are so much larger in number, and they never use red, or they never use green, or they never use blue. Do they live in a dimension that doesn't have this color? That's a great theory to have. I have zero beef with that. It's a great theory. Or do they purposely, right? Hey, this is karaoke, so it's okay. And or do they purposely not use that color because they hallucinate that color? Purple is the absence of green. You have to understand the green before you can understand the absence. This is the same thing. You and I are seeing the smell of purple the same way a dog and a horse broadcasts the chemical ocean that it navigates through. They can see the wind. They know the shape of the wind, the breeze that you enjoy. Imagine that you could smell its shape. I know you can smell a breeze. I know you do. I know that you remember using the smell, and that this smell is actually this smell is this two-dimensional world that has three. This olfactory dimension is there, and you play with it through taste. But imagine what a carrot tastes like to a horse now. The cathedral of the top of the horse's mouth is lit. If I can be crude, it is the most sensitive genital on your body, and it's in the top of your mouth. Not only that, when you breathe air in and out, you are rubbing the paste of the universe on top of your smell. You're smearing it like peanut butter. I mean, now some of you don't take that too literally. I don't want to lose some of you. But you're smearing the smell of it. This is why they're lie detectors. This is why the horse and the dog are like, you were hiding something. You were hiding something. This is why you can tap into that same detector by digesting your own lies. By I didn't say get rid of them. I said taste them. But I said maybe digest. Taste, yes. You need to taste your own lies. You got to taste your pits. You got to taste your undercarriage. Am I right? You got to taste your undercarriage. At the time when the stars went up in the sky to escape death, the Pleiades, called Chebaeum, were 7 young women, sisters. And when they went up, a rope was let down for them to climb on. Coyote came along, and as there was no man with them, he said, "I will go with you, girls." They did not answer him, but he took hold of the rope and kept on going up after them. But when they were safely up and they cut the rope and Coyote fell backwards, there is always a star following them now. That star is Aldebaran, and this is Coyote. This is the story of Rome, isn't it? And the story of Rome, so beautiful. Right now, Mars is directly between the twins of Rome. One twin is immortal, one is not. One twin dips below the horizon, one does not. Just like the Pleiades, there is 6 and then there is 7. In this tale, though, they're girls, not boys. And in this tale, they're chased by Sirius, the dog star. Or actually, it's Aldebaran in this case. But the same way in Rome is chased by this dog star. It's so beautiful when you understand the story of Rome is just blurring itself back into the stars. We're able to accurately smell the vectors of this whole thing. It smells like Rome. You know what Rome smells like, guys? I actually have an answer for you. Do you know what Rome smells like? If you could picture what Rome smells like, it's going to smell like fish oil. It's going to smell like the most pungent, fermented fish oil you've ever seen. Entire city ran on this pungent fish oil. I regret that the name escapes me right now. It's quite a common name. It's just not in my circles, but I've read about it or I've heard about it a lot. This fish oil is also a preservative, but it's also just the only way really you could eat fish back then. It was a horrible smell because the fish would putrefy. It would die. The same thing happens when you go to a fish market. There's a very distinct smell that the fish emit when they're fresh, and as the freshness turns, it ferments. This is my simple way, my simple idiot's guide to decomposition. Is I'm going to say it ferments and it emits this very peculiar smell that all of us recognize as rotten fish. This is a very, very special chemical that's being secreted. This chemical is being created from this process of the fish, and that same chemical is found the deeper you go into the ocean. You find that, which means that if you could smell what the bottom of the ocean smells like, it would smell like this. It would smell like this times 1,000,000. Which means that the deeper you go into Sheol, the closer you return to the realness of this place, which is chemical. The chemistry, the chemical smell, the chemo signature of God is all around us. We are living inside the nodal connections of all the plasma of his smell, of her smell, of the smell of this place. This is the terrain of every prana economy that you have with everyone else in the world. When you walk into a room, there is a discussion, sometimes that discussion is even a propositional economy. A negotiation is done, believe it or not. And that negotiation determines which one is what you may call alpha, but it's better, I think, to say which one of us is conductor. When you understand that it's conductor, then you can look at the equation as an orchestra. And when you see it as an orchestra, you're no longer trying to eliminate the number of people that can play. It's quite the opposite. You want to bring a lot to the orchestra. And the larger the orchestra is, the stronger the conductor needs to be. The conductor has such a job, he doesn't even hold an instrument. He's busy. He holds a little stick, a little tiny piece of wood. It's a magic wand. This texture of this place, when you break down what these chemicals do, they emit sound. Every smell that this universe is a sound. The only way you're going to understand the fabric of that, I think, is to tap into your olfactory. Your Lemurian organ. The Atlantis is the fall of Lemuria. Lemuria is the ecstasy of death. Hear me out, though. The death of Maya is Lemuria. Maya dies in Lemuria because you smell it all. And only when you can smell it all do you begin to see the vibrations. If you want to bypass smell, be my guest. If you want to hack that and say, we don't need this, James, we've been smearing aluminum on our armpits for so long. We've been shaving the thickest of hairs we can find. We will hunt down every smell. We will laserfy every pore. We will invent underwear that is wick-proof. We will invent Gore-Tex for underwear, and we will find a way for none of us to smell. We will invent icons of gray beings that do not sweat, that don't even need clothes because they don't have any smell at all. And we will covet ourselves, and we will hide in the cracks of this sterile, safe place where no smell has ever gone. And we have this technology right now. We're working on this right now. All of the fashion choices you make, all the building construction choices you make, even the visual displays are hiding smell. That a visual barrier changes the smell. We don't even think in those terms because we're goldfish living underwater, baby. We don't have a what's the dew point today. You don't have that. We have like electrical things because we're all underwater. We're going to talk about the current today. The current today is plus 16, so temperature really is just speed, right? It's just speed. And as being fish and that kind of simplicity, you would have to realize there's really no geography. So everything, the ocean, there's no stable part. Do you understand how profound it is that we have land that like you and I we're just like looking at each other like everything's normal. And I'm like, what? And you're like, I'm not moving. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not moving either. And I'm like, yeah, but dude, we're not moving. And you're like, yeah. So I'm like, I don't think you understand how profound this is, that we're not moving. Dude, we are fucking chemicals mixing around, just like smearing our peanut butter smells all over each other. And somehow you and I have figured out a way to not move. We are living inside of a liquid that's viciously having a prana economy with itself at all times. There's no bottom. We invented bottom. We invented stillness. We invented earth. We invented the ability to, no matter where we're going, we're going to stay in the same place. You ever seen a chicken? You guys probably know what a chicken is. That's probably a dumb question, maybe. But have you ever seen the ability to move a chicken? You move the chicken and their head is like fucking rock solid. It stays in the same place. Okay? First of all, that's brilliant. You and I have trouble doing that. But, the fact the chicken's doing that. But I want you to, props to the chicken, but matter does that. Do you understand that I'm telling you that the land is so conscious that it's able to do that? That if you really understand what's truly around you at all times, it's just chemical pixels, baby. In order for us to have a hallucination that's so frickin' solid that no matter how long we wait, millions and millions of years, that we can semi come to the same place. I get it. Erosion's a thing that makes us feel cool, right? We got erosion, so it's not stable, but it's fucking stable. And the deepest kind of magic went into that stuff. The Cherokees tell you it's an otter. Otter. You say, why otter? It was the otter. This place began with us living on rafts, and the rafts were just us clinging to each other. And when one of us died, we're just like, cool, we're going to fucking use your back. This is great. Oh, look, you're bloating. We have more room now. This is fabulous. And we kept having children on top of the dead bloating bodies of the others, and these things decomposed, and the decomposition still clung together because we rubbed it together. We used our oils and our sweat, and we built a raft, and this raft was still mingling. It had no choice. It was drifting at all times because there was no such thing as stillness. But this otter kept diving down deeper into the ocean because he kept believing that maybe there's something there. He kept insisting there's something there, there's something there, there's something there. And fucker comes up with a piece of kelp, comes up with a piece of seaweed. This is the oldest cosmology on Turtle Island, is what I'm telling you. That it began with these piled up survivors. And survivors are just those that became sentient inside the silkiness of this smell ocean. The entire thing is smell, a chemical smell. And the waters were separated from the waters because they were charged with smell. Smell would be at the very heart of what makes the blastocyst, the daughter cells, decide, I'm going to become a male now because I smell the right way. This is the oldest language that communicates with all of us. And this is why I call it a prana economy, because you can't really escape it. If I do not want to be the tallest person in the room, because I just don't want to deal with it. I just want to hang out in the corner. I don't really have a choice with that. If I want to be the tallest person in the room, I don't necessarily have a choice with that either. Same goes for I want to be the shortest person in the room. I don't mean short and tall necessarily by elevation. I mean in reference to prana economies. There becomes an obligation. You're the person who's going to have to pull the door if the plane runs into problems. And so the stewardess looks at you and says, hey, you agree to this seat. Show me what you got. And you look at her and you say, yes, I can do this. And this is a smell. It's a smell. She's smelling you. And if you didn't smell right, she'd be like, we're going to let Granny do it. And Granny's like, oh, I think I can. She's like, you can do it, Granny. This guy is not stable. He has too many emotions, she'll say. He has too many emotions. I think he's going to get lost. And let's be honest. You know, you'd probably get lost. It's okay. Your chemistry is who you are. It's a large equation. And quite frankly, most of us don't even get to know who we are. We don't really know where we fit. And because of this, we're imposters because other people know where you fit. Other people know where you fit. And if they catch you trying to be an imposter from where you fit, they're going to punish you for it. They're going to punish you for it. You know how they're going to punish you for it? They're going to send bad smells to you. Have you ever seen someone curl their nose? What if I told you that when you curl your nose, this is how you grit your teeth? Same action. And when you grit your teeth, you say something. Grit, I'm doing it right now. Can you tell that I am gritting my nose, not my teeth? Forgive me. I hope this doesn't sound harsh, but I am because I'm gritting my nose, right? So when you find something disgusting, you grit your nose because you are telling them things. You are speaking to them ugly with your smell. You're dispersing olfactories from the cave. See, you think that this is all about smelling intake, but these are holes that are directly attached to your hallucinatorial olfactories, which means you're constantly secreting hey guys, here's my plan for cosmology. Here's how I view the world. I think that the North Pole is my epigenetic center. I associate as this kind. Here's my smell profile, by the way. This is what's happening in your brain. That as soon as you smell someone, you instantly know, okay, you have this kind of chromosome. You are this old or this young. You are ovulating if you have those twins inside of you. You are stock full of cum if you have the other twins inside of you. This is your diet. This is what you had last week. This is how charged your blood is. I just told you all of the things that the olfactory has algorithms for that do not have to be taught, that your body is naturally just telling you that information all the time, no matter what you do. If you smell someone, you know these things about them. You know them. This is what guessing someone's age comes from. This is what guessing their weight. You're really playing with pin the tail on your olfactory. You're asking yourself, is it okay if I tap in? And the answer is no. The answer is no. If you were to tap in, you would be offended. You would definitely not park next to that guy. And you, as soon as you walked in the store, you'd be like, I cannot give this person my money. You would smell the karma stank from 30,000 years ago. And you would have no way of just discerning this stuff. You take your scissors and you take the noodle. It's 1,000 feet long. It's wet. And you cut it 3 inches and you say, you know what? This is all I'm going to look at. You look at the last 3 inches of the noodle and you go, these are some split ends. Noodle's got some split ends over here. You need to be using more conditioner. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you don't believe in conditioner. Oh, is that right? Well, you need some deconditioner is what you need. Yeah. Gina and Tay, those were two different people. Yeah, they came together in a miracle. They invented... I don't know what they invented. Yeah, the smell's where it's at. It really is. It is where it's at. Speaking of smell, I want you guys to hear this song. This is a fun one. This is The Rat Not the Tail by Harry Edvino. Or 30 squirrels at once. This is why I come here, fellas. This is why I hang out here. This is why I'm here. I've thought this very same thing. I've tried to count the squirrels, like Yesenia. I have squirrels that they hold their arms out. And in my mind, they're like, if I bless this guy, he will give me a peanut. Okay, this is what I used to think that they were like hitting on the glass, but I honestly think that limbically, I'm not muted, right? I hope not, because I swear I think that's funny what I just said. But anyway, it's when they spread their arms, I think what they're doing is that they have a limbic memory that if I spread my arms, this dude's going to drop peanuts. I don't know if I'm scaring him. I don't know if I'm blessing him. I don't know if I'm just like, saying, love me, I'm a squirrel. Like I think to them, it's just, if you limbically, it's like all squirrels read the book, posture is everything, you know? And they tell each other, dude, you just have to believe. You have to hold the victory pose. And it makes fucking peanuts come out. But you can only do it in this one spot. Here, I'll show you. And it's like, well, wait, that's where that tall monster dude lives. Yeah, I know. But this is where the portal is. What do you want to do, you know? Portal's being guarded by a giant monster. What are you going to do, right? What are you going to do? So you go there and you do the limbic thing. And I say this because I've thrown peanuts to the squirrel. This happened, actually, I think probably happened today. I think it was today. By the way, I have some really good news to report about my driveway. But anyway, the squirrel, man, this cracked me up because the squirrel spread its arms. I dropped peanuts on it, like I showered it with peanuts. Usually, you know, it's like a handful, and I typically just kind of toss them at him, and he feels, it's sort of like he's like raining in the dollar bills, you know, because he keeps his hand spread. But today he did something different, which is as soon as the peanuts hit, he stopped doing the pose, but then he saw me and he did the pose again. So I hope you can understand what I mean. This is why it's a clue about it's limbically, he's on a different level, which brings me finally back to Eric C's point, which is that what if, maybe this isn't his point. Forgive me. I don't want you guys to think that he's retarded if what I'm about to say is retarded, but I think that I can't count how many squirrels there are. I know there's at least 7. But honestly, they could be on a staff. It could be a crew. Let's be honest. Could be immigrant squirrels. It's like 19 of them. They're living in the same tree. And as long as 7 of them show up, no one notices. God, this is really sexist. I feel like I'm funny though. I'm not sexist, racist. I'm in a, guys, I'm struggling. I'm having a conundrum here, but yeah. It's if the squirrel, let's stick with squirrels. There is some prejudice with squirrels. There's some, but it's not all of it. So what if the squirrel is a colony? Because it is. Their tails are wireless. Squirrels talk to each other through tails. I know they click a lot, but their tails really put out a signal. Like the twitching, you know, that twitch that's a smell slingshot. Do you understand the smell? I think about squirrel buttholes. I'm not gonna lie. They put out a warning. Hey, Sector 7, check it in. You know, here's my butt telegram. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I really wish I didn't crack myself up. I think I'd be funnier if I didn't crack myself up sometimes. But these guys are like, I just laugh at these guys because they cracked me up that time. That's how bad it is. But I think they throw the smells at each other is what they do. They throw that, you know, at each other. So, they probably, because of, if you take what I just told you about the limbicness, that they don't necessarily have the reasoning to say there are now 12 peanuts that have been dropped in my vicinity. I don't need to bless this guy, you know, because I've decided that what this squirrel does is he's blessing me. He's just like, oh, great God, I bless you and you will give, we ask for peanut. You know, I'm like the rain god, right? I'm basically the rain god. And he has pleased me because he's worshiping me, right? Look at him down there. Freaking adorable, you know? Guys, it's just us. This is just us. We wear aluminum paste, but then we show our smell to each other. We pick the people that are special enough to see our smell. You know where the smell comes. It comes out of your mouth, doesn't it? Your tongue's still attached, But because you burned all the olfactory in the top of your mouth, you can lie. Your tongue can tell lies. And there's a lot of magic there. There's a lot of magic there, you know? All right, guys. No one's got their hands up. I think we'll close it off. It's been a really good ride. I really enjoyed this. I don't actually know how many people are watching, but I definitely see some wonderful comments in the chat, and I appreciate that too. But I want to keep practicing, so it's a great opportunity actually to close it down so I can learn how to set it up again. I kind of like the graphics, just saying. I think when we have a caller, maybe I'll put the graphics up, of like the Zoom room, and then when not, it'll probably just like stay like this. So I don't know why I need to tell you that. I just I'm really this could be fun if we built a show here, and I want to encourage you guys to come on. You can join the Zoom, and you can raise your hand and say something, and some of you guys are saying things, and then if I put your hand down, it's not me saying we can't keep talking about this. It's more of just, it gives you, if your hand is, it's just like the Jack in the Box. If you don't put the, if you don't close the box, you don't know. It's not all there, It's, the technology is that easy, man. I just remembered the Jack in the Box. Like, the technology really is that easy. It's so simple what we need. That first story I told you about, there's a lot of people joke, they say the Indians didn't have the wheel, but honestly the wheel was one of the biggest instruments of play. It was a big part, and you would chase the wheel. You would use a stick, and you'd use the stick to push the wheel, get it revved up a lot, and then you chase it, and that's like its own thing. It's a creational story. It's just like the Jack in the Box. It's creating an addictive state. You're addicted to know what's going to happen. There's a new version of the Jack in the Box where it's a pie, like a cream pie, and you fill the hand with cream pie, and everyone in the family sticks their face in this, or everyone playing the game sticks their face in this thing, and one of you is going to get hit in the face with the pie, and it's the same, it's the exact same formula. It's so incredibly magical because, like I said, something's happening and you don't know when. I've discussed this concept of what is peculiar before. I've told you that what is peculiar, it has been said, peculiarity lights more of the brain neurons than anything else. Even passion, even fear, being turned on, being turned off, being disgusted, being terrified, thinking about death. Nothing lights the brain up more than something that's considered peculiar. And I believe, although I don't have a PubMed article to tell you this, but I think that we could make the stretch that it's related to this concept. Peculiar is the idea that something is coming and you don't know when. And I think what is coming is the reveal. So if you consider peekaboo, the game of peekaboo is the exact same engine. You know that you are going to see someone's face. You know you're going to see someone's face, but you do not know when. You are led by the same engine. Do you see what I mean? It's the same circuit. It's a circuit of consciousness, guys. Just like there are electrical circuits in the world, this is a conscious circuit. Everyone has these things. And when we start to look at these more, I think that you'll find that the conscious circuit runs on smell. There's something about the chemo signature of Peekaboo. It's a smell thing, is what I'm trying to say. The game of Peekaboo is the game of Jack in the Box, is the game of you're about to get slapped in the face with a pie. And all of those things, those games, are simply secreting a smell by a ritual that the game encourages you to play. And that ritual is just a posture, i.e., not just your spine. I'm talking about your ion channels. I want all your ion channels underneath your armpits to be open. And then I want you to say it again. I want all your ion channels at the back of your neck to be closed so you feel more directed towards the front, because I want your neck, when your throat talks, I want your throat to push the smell out of the blood that's flowing past those fucking arteries, because there's a big Mississippi River, am I right? Give it up for your arteries, right? But that's a lot there. And that because they're so close to the skin, this is the perfect wand. It's an orb. It vibrates the smell into the air, so it secretes bubbles of smell from your throat. You just can't see them. And a dog's just like, this is why I lick my nuts. You've never seen my bubbles, Dad? Watch me lick my nuts. I want you to look at what happens to the room. Turn off the fan, by the way, says the dog. Dog's like, yeah, before we begin, do you realize how ugly it is for you to run the fan? It takes all the beautiful smell that placed itself in the room in exactly the right spot, and it twisted it fucking around, and it mixed it like gravy. You know, I worked hard on this dinner, says the chef. I cooked the potatoes separately. I cooked the steak separately. I cooked the asparagus separately. And I give them to you, and what do? You put them in a blender. You hit frappe. You call it a smoothie, and you swallow it. The dog is offended. The dog is like, how dare you? How dare you? Now turn off the fan. And you're like, dude, I am sorry, dog. I am sorry. Man, I gotta be more compassionate next time. It's like, yeah, well, let's just explain this because the people are listening, says the dog. Watch what happens when I slap my nuts with my tongue. Watch what happens. And I'm sorry, but this is how it would work. It's going to emit this little cloud it's a bubble. And that bubble is dispersed into the house, and it's giving the house the security the same way that you would memorize where you used to be and where you are now. The dog's going to be able to see the difference from where it was before. He's vibing the place, right? Vibe is the alchemy of space, you know, like for real. That's a bumper. That's a magnet you get when you get my latest book. Oh, that would be a little plug if I was like, hey, you want to get my book? You can get my book. But actually, that's vibe is the alchemy of space. Is really just about these smells. It's just about, I own this place. Is you feeling comfortable enough to allow your undercarriage, well, to say that, to allow your undercarriage to speak its mind into the room. And if you're allowed for that smell to linger enough, you set up a field And you're going to detect the difference in that field the same way a spider builds a web. Holy fuck, this is great, right? Just as the spider is able to feel the tremors in the web. Sorry, I told you the show's over, but this is I think this is some good stuff here. Because just as the spider is sensing the room from the touching, I want to quit because I'm laughing, just so you know. That's the only reason why I want to quit. I feel like I'm ruining, just so you know, that's why. I feel like I'm ruining the show because I keep laughing. I didn't want to admit this morning when someone said, "Who's your favorite comedian?" I said people, but I didn't say I just really crack myself up a lot, and it's sort of a problem. I think that if you were like, I think if I lived in an apartment, okay, so when I lived in an apartment complex, I think that I just kind of worried people, because of we'll call it self-talk. I think that self-talk is not accurate. I think that we live in a society where people want me to, like, hey man, can you just call all of these things you, like a self? Can you can you do that? And I'm just like, it's easier. They say you're gonna have to, there's gonna be a title for each one of them. You're gonna have to get each of these things inspected. You might as well just call them all self, James. Yeah, they're dependents, but you're not gonna be able to file that, dude. Just go with standard deduction. You don't want to do this any other way. But this is how you move in. This is why I don't like rental cars. I mean, it's weird, but I'm just, it's just like, hey, why don't you just get a rental car? And I'm just, what are you? What are you? That's how I react. I'm just like, what are you? And I know why. It's because my smell isn't there. And I'm just picturing how long that's going to take. Like, you can't just like pick up a car and rub your junk on it. I mean, you can, but you need to leave the parking lot. You don't want to do that in front of anybody, guys. Guys, you're not going to be able to live in an apartment. It's just not going to work. There's so many factors. It's just not going to work, guys. It's just not, okay? Stop thinking that. You need to find people that you're going to feel more comfortable if you find people that are crazier than you, because you're going to be like, I am stable as fuck. And that's your guiding light. That's your guiding light right there. That's what's going to do it for you. So. All right, guys, let's close it down. We need to calm down. We do. I really appreciate this ride. Thank you so much. Seriously. You guys are encouraging me. I can just feel the witness. I know you're there. I'm going to try and laugh less. Oh God, this is some funny stuff. Hug your squirrels. May the squirrels bless you and keep you. And I've just love you guys. Thank you for the patrons that make this possible. And thank you for the Friday night ride. I promise the show's over now.
You said it yourself, this will not work if we are miles apart. Wake
just need to